Today is Wednesday, January 25th. What to know about even more secret government documents found, this time at the home of former Vice President Mike Pence. Also, what Taylor Swift fans and senators on both sides of the aisle have in common. They all want answers from Ticketmaster. We have highlights from a hearing on Capitol Hill. Plus, a federal plan to make baby food safer, the biggest snafu to hit a U.S. stock exchange in years, and which movies got the most Oscar nominations this year, as well as some snubs and surprises. Those stories and more news in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. First, it was former President Trump, then President Biden. Now it's former Vice President Pence, who was found with secret government documents in his home. Pence's lawyers say they found about a dozen docs marked as classified in the former VP's house in Indiana, and they turned those records over to the FBI. Lawyers say they were not in a secure area, but were in taped-up boxes, and they don't think anyone opened them since they were first packed up at the end of the last administration. They say Pence did not know about them. It's not clear yet what the documents were related to or exactly how sensitive they were, but the Justice Department has launched another review. Of course, this comes as special counsels investigate the handling of classified documents by both President Biden and former President Trump. Both Republicans and Democrats in Congress have said they want to know more about all three cases and some want other former presidents' records searched as well. To that, representatives of former presidents Obama, Bush, and Clinton said all of their classified records were returned to the National Archives when they left the White House. So Ukraine is not just dealing with an invasion, it's now also dealing with a corruption scandal. Several senior Ukrainian officials resigned or were fired this week in the biggest government shakeup since the war began 11 months ago. Ukraine's President Zelensky recently promised to address bribery, embezzlement, and other corruption allegations, including some related to military spending. And this seems to be a sign that he's sticking to that promise. For now, authorities have not announced any criminal charges. And one senior U.S. official told the Washington Post there's no concern at this point the news could poison America's relationship with Ukraine. Though already officials in several countries have demanded more accountability for the billions of dollars in aid Ukraine has been receiving. Meanwhile, several reports say the Biden administration is set to approve sending dozens of advanced tanks to Ukraine. That decision could be announced as soon as today. But some officials say it could take years for them to actually reach any Ukrainian battlefields since they require a lot of training and servicing. This move could really be about getting Germany to take action. German officials have said they'd be willing to send Ukraine some of the most advanced tanks in the world, following a commitment from the U.S. Stay tuned. Parts of Texas and Louisiana are dealing with some serious damage this morning after reports of several tornadoes across the Gulf Coast. First, there was a rare tornado warning in the Houston area yesterday. Ground stops were issued for both Hobby and Bush intercontinental airports, and flights were not allowed to land as the storms moved through. Storms crushed power lines, damaged homes and businesses, destroyed an assisted living center, and flooded roads. They also caused several car and truck crashes and at least one train wreck. Then the storm moved into Louisiana, where a possible tornado did even more damage. And the threat is not over yet. Today, severe thunderstorms are expected to hit the eastern Gulf Coast and Southwest with heavy rain, large hail, damaging winds, and more possible tornadoes. Eventually, the storm should work its way off the Atlantic coast by tomorrow. All right, so remember that whole fiasco with millions of Taylor Swift fans trying to get tickets to her latest tour? It led to lockouts, delays, confusion, and soaring scalper prices. Well, this week, executives from the ticketing industry faced lawmakers about the issue as Swift fans protested outside Capitol Hill. Senators slammed Live Nation Entertainment and its subsidiary, Ticketmaster. They say Live Nation and Ticketmaster's merger in 2010 has given the company an outsized influence on the market. So one company now acts as a promoter, venue, and ticketing company, which eats into artist revenue and makes ticket prices higher for fans. Some said the Justice Department needs to re-examine that merger. Lawmakers also questioned why Live Nation can't seem to be able to deal with bots who buy tickets in bulk and then sell them at inflated prices. In response, the president and chief financial officer of Live Nation asked for help in fighting those bots, and he apologized, specifically for the issues with the Taylor Swift ticket sales, saying, quote, "We need to do better and we will do better." But some senators say they'll also consider new legislation to address some of these issues. To be continued. If you follow the stock market, you probably noticed some pretty crazy price swings yesterday. There was a technical glitch at the opening of the New York Stock Exchange. Hundreds of stocks were priced incorrectly, trading either unusually low or unusually high. Trading ended up being suspended for more than 80 stocks, including big ones like MasterCard, Uber, Walmart, and Verizon. For most of them, trading was able to resume just a few minutes later, and some of the early trades ended up getting canceled. Now the New York Stock Exchange is trying to figure out exactly what happened. We have much more news for you still coming up, but first, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever felt stressed that you're stressed, or upset that you feel upset? Despite all emotions being very normal for us humans, we sometimes make it even worse by judging ourselves for them. This is just one small thing that I've learned in therapy, and it can make a big difference when you cut yourself a break. And eventually, it allows you to show up as your best self more often. I like to think of therapy like going to a trainer at the gym, but for my mental health. It teaches you the right skills, the right form, so your daily efforts go further. And then you may need to go back for some new moves and advice as you get stronger on your own. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, but maybe you're worried about time or money, BetterHelp is a convenient, flexible, affordable option that will match you with a licensed therapist. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. The FDA has a new plan to limit how much lead can be found in baby food products. And it says this proposal could reduce lead exposure by as much as 27% for infants and toddlers. In case you're wondering how lead ends up in baby food in the first place, the FDA says most of the time it's from soil where food is grown. That soil can be polluted by contaminated water, pesticides, or certain industrial activities. And then the pollution grows right into the crops. Lead is actually considered toxic to people of all ages, but it's especially dangerous for kids. But the new FDA guidance still would not remove lead from food entirely. It would limit it to 10 to 20 parts per billion for food specifically made for babies and kids younger than 2 years old. Some advocacy groups say this action doesn't do nearly enough, especially since it doesn't address other toxic chemicals often found in baby food like arsenic or mercury. It also only addresses packaged foods. Still, the FDA says its proposal will result in long-term, meaningful, and sustainable change. The new limits are set to go into effect in 2 months after the typical public comment period. The federal government is suing Google again. A new lawsuit from the Justice Department says the search giant illegally monopolizes the market for online ads and that it puts websites and advertisers who use other ad tools at a disadvantage. It points to acquisitions Google has made to boost its advertising division. Google's business now includes a tool publishers can use to offer ad space, a product for advertisers to buy the slots, and an exchange that links bidders with web pages. The research firm Insider Intelligence says Google commands nearly 30% of the American digital advertising market, more than anyone else. Now the DOJ wants a federal judge to force Google to break up its advertising segment from the rest of the company. In response, Google says the advertising sector actually has plenty of competition already and that the DOJ's case will only make buying advertising more expensive. This is the second antitrust suit federal authorities have brought against Google in recent years. The first one targeted Google's position in online search markets, and that case is expected to go to trial later this year. Amazon is getting even more involved in the healthcare space. The tech giant launched RxPass yesterday in most U.S. states. It lets Prime members pay a flat $5 monthly fee to get as many generic versions of medicines as they need. And that's the out-of-pocket cost, not on insurance, and it includes free shipping, though it is on top of the price of the Prime membership. At first, the service will cover drugs for 80 common ailments. Amazon says more than 150 million Americans already take one or more of the prescriptions in the RxPass offering, though RxPass is not open to people on government medical plans like Medicare or Medicaid. The nominees are out for the 95th Annual Academy Awards, and this year there's a pretty broad range of movies up for the top prizes. The sci-fi hit Everything Everywhere All at Once scored the most nominations with 11, including Best Picture. Also in the Best Picture category include blockbuster sequels like Top Gun Maverick and Avatar: The Way of Water, as well as some critic faves like All Quiet on the Western Front and Tar. Some nominees are making history this year, too. For example, Angela Bassett became the first actress to be nominated for her role in a Marvel movie. Also, Michelle Yeoh became the first Asian to get a Best Actress nom. Then there are some upsets. Award show strategists were surprised movies like Nope and The Woman King were totally shut out from Oscars nominations. Also, this year, no women are included in the Best Directing category, which is a change since women won that prize the last 2 years. This year's Academy Awards are set for March 12th, live on ABC. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a break to thank our sponsor, Green Chef. If you want to take your 2023 meals up a notch, try the #1 meal kit for eating well, Green Chef. One of my favorite things about Green Chef is that you get to make food with super flavorful ingredients you might otherwise not think to buy, or you'd buy only to use one time. I don't remember the last time I bought chard, for example, and yet we made a delicious chicken with garlic chard rice the other night, and my whole family ate it right up. In fact, with Green Chef, you're reducing your food waste by up to 38% versus grocery shopping. And no matter what types of food you prefer, Green Chef has something for you. Keto and paleo, vegan and vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean or gluten-free. You can even mix and match meals. Plus, I love that Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so there truly is something for everyone if you want to switch between brands. Go to greenchef.com/newsworthy60 and use that code newsworthy60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. Again, simply go to greenchef.com/newsworthy60 and use code newsworthy60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. In the last year, we've heard about union elections at Starbucks, Amazon, Apple, and elsewhere. But new government data shows the share of American workers who are actually members of unions fell to a record low in 2022. The Labor Department says about 10% of wage and salary workers were union members last year. And that percentage has been falling for a while now. Since back in the 80s, more than 20% of workers were in unions. Still, even though the share of union workers in the U.S. is going down, support for unions seems to be going up. A Gallup poll from last year found 71% of Americans approved of labor unions, and that's the highest percentage Gallup has recorded since 1965. So what's with the disparity there? Well, technically, union membership did grow last year by about 273,000 workers. Here's the thing. The overall labor force grew by 5.3 million, so it still outpaced the growth in union roles by a lot. Also, many companies are still fighting against unions, since they say they'd rather have a direct relationship with their employees, and they believe unions can get in the way of progress. But employees who support them say they're all about advancing worker rights. So expect even more fights over unions to come in 2023. Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us as part of your daily routine and for sharing the show. If you'd prefer to get ad-free episodes, you can become a Newsworthy Insider. Learn more about that and support the show in that way at thenewsworthy.com/insider. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.